Hi, Adam.
Hello.
It's a new.
Unmute, please.
I think you're muted, man.
Oh, there we go. Is that
Yeah,
better?
Hey.
cool.
Hi,
Cool,
how's
awesome.
it going?
Yeah, good. Good. Yourselves?
Perfect.
Hangover.
Pretty good, man.
Good. Good. Glad to hear it.
Really nice to meet you, man.
Yes, likewise. Likewise. How are things over there with you guys at the moment with all the COVID and everything else?
Yeah. Look,
We managed to get through well. I mean, I'm in Valencia right now. Fede is in Argentina,
Look.
and Sean is in Budapest. So we are
Oh, okay.
we got all kinds of curfews and quarantines here around the globe. We collected everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty. Things are pretty open and back to normal here in Budapest. It's 33 degrees today, so it feels like summer. So
Great.
can't complain, man. To be honest, what are things like over there? You're in the UK, yeah, Derby.
Yeah.
What's it like over there now?
We're in a situation now where we were due to unlock Monday this week completely. That's been drawn out for a further 4 weeks because of the Indian variant. The hospitalizations and deaths are still very, very low, although infections are quite high, meaning that there's not now a direct correlation between infections and terminal illness or deaths or anything else like that. So that link's kind of been broken. The population, I think we're about 80% of people have had the first vaccination and about 50-something% have had the second. So
Okay.
there's a high proportion of the population now who's been vaccinated, and if in some cases fully vaccinated. So we'll see. We're supposed to be I think we're supposed to be unlocking on the 19th of July. That's the plan. So it's been drawn out just a few more weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Right.
how was
So you
the
have quite a big
last year?
festival.
Sorry, 2 questions there.
Michael?
You have quite a big festival. I mean, how did you manage to get through the pandemic? Like you had to cancel last year. This year was quite shaky, or is still shaky. How did you manage the whole organization of everything?
I think it's been a level of due diligence in the earlier years because we've been quite careful each year. We've always put some money away. We've never sort of just spent everything, and we've tried to protect ourselves for unforeseen circumstances, and this was one of those things. So we've been able to sort of keep the wolves from the door, if you like, without spending ticket money or anything else, which has been good. We managed to get a grant from the UK government for about £300,000 in total, which again was a great lifeline. A lot of festivals were sort of given, and a lot of events were given the opportunity for a grant. The beginning of this year, right, under last year, beginning of this year, which we were successful with. So that was a massive help for us. And really, we've just been as honest as we can be with all the fans. We've told them exactly where we are. They know as much as we know. We're lucky that we are middle of August, because that's allowed us that time scale of not having to postpone again this year and actually have a hope of going ahead. So at the moment, we've got a very, very good chance. We're about 98%, I would say, chance of definitely happening this year.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. 90% sounds awesome. I was a bit worried because of the Delta variant, which is quite dominant right now in the UK.
Yeah.
So since this messes it up again, but doesn't look like that.
No, well, they're adamant they're unlocking on the 19th of June. They've said that they're definitely going to unlock. They could unlock before, but we don't think they will. We think they'll draw it out. And the only reason they're keeping us locked down is purely just so they can vaccinate, as many more people as they can do. Because I think the Delta variant is more prolific in the younger population. So the older population, because they've had the vaccines, aren't really suffering with it. I think the biggest demographic is sort of 18 to 28 or 29, something like that. And they're the people that are being vaccinated at the moment.
Okay.
Right.
How will you manage the festival stuff this year? With the people, the quantity of people.
We're basically managing it as a normal festival as far as capacity goes. So we're not reducing the capacity. It'll be 20,000 a day. We've extended it from 4 days to 5 days. So there's actually 5 days this year. So we've got an extra day for free for the fans. We are going to be bringing in testing centres and certain protocols, such as additional hand cleaning, additional sanitisation points. We're going to make sure all closed areas, such as cabins and tent areas, are chemical bombed, so they've basically got a level of protection with them. We're spending probably another 120,000 pounds on additional infrastructure to basically mitigate COVID as much as possible. You know,
Wow.
and the silly thing is, it's like festivals generally don't work unless they're kind of over 80-85% capacity anyway, because it's such a fine line between profit and loss. You know, it's a capacity type thing. You're not going to get, once people have had, you know, a handful of beers, social distancing will not exist. As much as you think it will, it never will. So our policy in the UK has been all from the start, if we open, we have to open at full capacity. And we have to open with no social distancing. That was the only other way it would work. So we've just, this weekend, we've been down to the Download pilot event, because they had a 10,000 capacity 3-day camping festival. Download Festival did. So instead of it being 100,000, they did a reduced one, just to kind of see how people reacted and see what the flows of people were like. And it was very good. It was really good. Nothing that we hadn't already planned for. So we were pleased with that. So yeah, it's we've got every confidence we'll be able to put on a good show.
Awesome, cool. How did you organize this international bands? Your lineup is quite international. Did you have to take care of the travel restrictions and so forth, or?
We've got certain, yeah. I mean, we did have a far more international lineup than we have now. I think now we've probably got 7 or 8 international bands, whereas we had a more mixed lineup to start with. So it has become very UK dominant as far as acts are concerned. The bands that are coming over, we've just been talking to them pretty much every single week, understanding what the travel restrictions are, if there are any. Looking at green routes, amber and red routes from the UK and to the UK. It's slightly different coming into the UK if you're coming into work than it is if you're coming in to sort of have a vacation or something like that. So you're allowed to work as long as that's what it is, and you've still got to provide a negative test on entry and whatever. So that's worked out okay. Judas Priest, although they're mainly UK based, there are the likes of Rob Halford lives out in LA, along with 2 or 3 other guys as well. So with they're coming in middle of July, I think, because so they can make sure they take care of any quarantine measures they may have to do. Plus, it gives them time in the studio to do a bit of practicing and whatnot, because we'll be their first show since lockdown started. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I noticed Devin Townsend's playing. He's one of my favorite musicians in the world. I just wanted to ask you, what was the process like booking a lot of these bands? Because I imagine when bands outside of Europe come to Europe, they go on like a festival circuit, like, you know, one festival after another. Was that an issue this year? Because I think you, like, Bloodstock's one of the only festivals this year that's actually going ahead. Was it an issue like getting bands to come over for just the one festival? Was that an issue for you?
I think in a normal year, it would probably prove more problematic than it is now. I think bands generally are just so desperate to get out and do shows. They just need to be earning some money. They need to get on stage, and it's a practice session for a lot of bands as well. You know, it's like going to a gig. So I think the opportunity to perform is a massive appeal this year, when they've had kind of nearly 18 months out of doing anything. There were some bands that we had to change and move over to 2022 because they were on tour cycles and they were doing European shows, and it'll only work for them financially to do that because of the production size that they're traveling with. So there were a few, but the likes of Devin, you know what Devin's like. You know, he will climb mountains if he can get to a show and do something for the fans. So
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So he's already committed to the fact that hell or high water, he's coming to do the show, which is
awesome.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, how does it work with bands like Merciful Fate that canceled last year? You are still booking for the next one, or how does it
it's difficult because you've got to kind of make a choice that, you know, when you're kind of 3 years from a band originally being booked to actually then getting to play, you have to make a call on whether it's at that point the right decision to sort of still go ahead with that band. The feeling is with Merciful Fate, they haven't done a lot in the UK in recent years, so the appetite is going to be there from the fans to have a show.
Yeah.
So they work, they're automatic. It's made sense that we roll those bands over. You know, have we been forced to postpone this year, as other festivals have done, where they've kind of looked and rejigged the lineup for the following year that have now had to have 2 years out? we may have had to do the same with certain bands where that appeal maybe differs, or something different has changed within the sector, if you like, or the genre with a certain band where they've got an album out that's doing particularly well, and you know, you may decide that you want to do something with that band and see if there's an opportunity there because the timing's right. So a lot of it is down to timing. Merciful Fate works, and it is a shame that we've had to postpone them and kind of roll them over to 22, but it will still work in 22, which is good.
Yeah. So we'll be there.
Yeah.
Right, as soon as I can. Next festival, we have to go. So how was it with the HR situation? Did you have trouble to find the crews of people, the technicians to organize everything, to install? Was that an issue?
Yeah, it has been. You know, I think, and this is probably a global picture. People they've had to sort of find work doing things that are outside of their daily routines has been for probably the last 10, 15, 20 odd years, you know. So they've got families to feed and everything else. And unfortunately, and I think the UK is no different, that's a sector of the industry that's kind of fallen through the cracks. You know, all of these people haven't had levels of support that probably other people in other industries have been able to take advantage of. You know, the UK had a furlough scheme, which worked very, very well if you were employed by a limited company, and they were able to apply for that for you. So the wages were paid up to about 80%, which was great. But if you're self-employed and you're a subcontractor of some sorts, your hands are tied. There's nothing you can do. So unfortunately, these people have had to go off and find other jobs. Yeah. Where that sits currently, I think is dangerous for the industry because that talent pool, they've switched into being postmen or you know, drivers or whatever else they'll do to sort of find other work just to pay the bills. And they're reluctant to switch back to the industry currently because it's very limited in the amount of shows or the amount of work they would physically have. So I don't see that coming back until probably back end of 22. We've been very, very fortunate that the people we work with, we've managed to retain. And they've been busy in the main doing other things, such as the testing centres and vaccination centres and things like that. So there's been a level of deployment throughout the UK for certain types of people, such as crews. It's been very, very difficult for stage crews, lighting crews, sound engineers and people like that have had no work. And I think that's where the bigger job sort of has been. But we've managed to find the people for this year. Probably more to the point, I think, that because there's not a lot of shows on this year, there has been people about. I think had there probably been more shows that suddenly came back, we may have found it a lot harder to find the crews.
Yeah, we spoke to, I think, Mark from UK Metal Merger a couple, maybe a month ago about this situation. And yeah, like it's it's good to hear that you guys have the staffing to kind of put on this show. But as you said, yeah, like if once everything goes back to normal, there may still be a shortage of talent to put these shows on. And it's hopefully things somehow come together and, you know, life can go back to normal and the show must go on and all that stuff. But I think
we need a sustained amount of time of normality first.
Before
people are prepared to make that switch and go back to doing what they were doing, where they were self-employed and they were, you know, they were contracting in, and they know the work's going to be there. They're not going to do something that they know is a regular wage, and that's going to be the difficulty because there needs
to be some stability.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think COVID's going to be here for a few years. You know, it's not going to go away. It's I think it's controllable. I think it's manageable now.
Yeah.
But it's going to be no different than the annual flu, and you'll probably end up getting a booster jab, you know, for the next few years, just to sort of see us through it all. But
that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Hey, do you have any global strategy for this? I mean, with other big festivals in Europe?
We have associations or friendships, if you like, with a number of other European events that sort of happen over the same window as Bloodstock. So Summer Breeze and Brutal Assault and Alcatraz and a few others. Sorry, can you hold me a second? Someone's at the door.
Yeah, of course.
No worries. Sorry, won't be a second.
Mate, ¿tenés mate?
Mate.
No mate. Mate para todos.
Sorry about that.
Hey,
no problem.
All good.
What were we saying? Where were we? Oh yeah, so we work with, we're part of a federation called the UFF, which is the United Festival Force, and we have regular meetings and try and sort of look where there's synergies, whether it be bands, working practices, or anything else. It's extremely tough for a lot of the European festivals at the minute.
Yeah,
they're either on limited capacity, such as I know Alcatraz has got to put on a smaller show and what they probably normally do. Some Breeze and some of the other German festivals simply can't go ahead because there's no real clarity on the unlocking or anything else. So it's very, very difficult and extremely sad that we're in that position still.
Yeah,
right.
and
Hopefully
I
next
remember,
year everything will be back to normal.
Yeah.
And Adam, how about the experience last year of streaming? I remember that the festival were like streaming stuff.
Yeah, we did a collaboration with, I think there was probably 11 or 12, 13, sorry, 13 other festivals.
Yeah, many festivals.
Yeah. We called it the European Festival Alliance. And again, that was over the same sort of the July-August window of events.
Okay.
And that was just an idea that we just had during one of our chats, that if we can't have an actual festival, we probably need to do something online. But what we didn't want to do is just do old footage and just play old footage from old shows, because you can go on YouTube and find that anywhere.
Yeah.
The only way we could create something unique was to do something unique. So we did speak to most of the artists that appeared, and they actually did a recorded specific live stream for the show, which was great. And it varied in production levels from the bedrooms to, I think there was one or two bands that were in some runestone somewhere that were doing fire and all sorts. So that was great to see, and that was in support of the festivals for a change. So the bands gave their time pretty much for free in the main, to kind of do that and sort of try and give back to the festivals, because ultimately without festivals there's no shows, and without it's the festivals and the industry such as venues, etc., that support everything. So it's it was nice to see them do that. It was good, and it was quite successful. We did earn lots and lots of money, but it was more about, it wasn't about the money, it was about awareness and keeping relevant. That was the whole point behind it. So for that purpose it did its job.
Yeah,
right.
And did you get the all the stuff that you do before the Bloodstock, in the little towns or the big cities, just to get more bands or new bands, upcoming bands?
Yeah, we do a program called Metal to the Masses, which we've run that for about 18 years now, and it's kind of grown every year. We go across about 30 different cities up and down the UK, and there's I think 2 or 3 in Europe that we do as well, where basically there's one criteria: the band, they're not allowed to pay any money, so they're not allowed to pay to perform. They don't have to sell tickets. They don't have to turn up with so many fans. All they have to do is be able to play and have their own instrument, pretty much. Obviously we supply the backlines, and it's about finding new raw talent. And I think the thing is, the sort of Battle of the Bands type competitions have always had, or for many years, such a bad name, because a lot of promoters have taken advantage of young kids or young bands coming through, and it's been a bit of a cash cow for them, where, right, you've got to pay us 300 quid or whatever it is, and that's not what it's about. That paying money or bringing fans with you because you've got a lot of friends doesn't say you're a good or a bad band. What says you're a good or a bad band is your ability on the day, and that's the way we've tried to make it. It needs to be as transparent and as clean as it can be, that a band gets through on its own merits of their own ability, nothing else. So we always make sure that, again, it's not judged on fan reaction, because if one band's got 40 fans with them and one band's got 5 fans with them, because that's the mates they brought to the show, that's not really a fair gauge. So we always have an independent judging committee that goes to each of the shows to make sure that we offer what is actually a good proposition, rather than just popular on the day because he had more mates than the other guy. And that's working really well. We sort of probably see between 500 and 600 bands a year, new bands.
Wow.
Yeah, which is great, and it's great for the venues as well, because a lot of the venues that host the shows for us, they sell out, sort of weeks in advance of the shows as well. So it's good for the venues, for traffic there. And it's got a good reputation now in the UK, which has taken a long time to build. So yeah, doing well. That's doing very well.
It's a massive amount of bands. I mean, independently of COVID, how much work is it actually to organize a festival of this size?
It's been a lot more difficult with respect that we've had a lot of additional things to do that we wouldn't ordinarily have to do, such as the COVID measures. And the problem is at the moment, there's no actual guidance that's been given from the government as saying, right, this is the official line on what you must take. A lot of it has been a case of common sense. So we've done the pilot shows. We'd already put in place a load of measures that we saw at the pilot shows, and we're actually doing more than what we saw at the pilot show. So we feel at this point now we've learned enough over the last 12, 18 months to mitigate the risk as much as we can be. But when you add that to the workload of everything else that you would normally do stick a festival on, it has increased the work for everybody quite substantially. You know, and the cost of infrastructure as well, because we've had to do a lot more online and digital stuff that ordinarily we wouldn't normally do, such as accreditation and guest list systems and things like that, which now all have to be automated, because you've got to track and trace everybody that's coming in onto site and be able to at least then provide a list if the government need it, if we were to have an outbreak of all of those people, which ordinarily we wouldn't do. So yeah, there's a lot more work involved, but you know, the nice thing is the team we have around us, they've risen to the challenge and they've really worked hard, and that's been amazing to see. You know, it just shows the industry isn't about the individuals, it's about the team and the people that work around you, you know. So it's not about me, it's not about my family who put the festival on, it's about everybody else that does their bit, which has been brilliant.
And Adam, how have things been for you in the last 12 to 18 months, you know, working in the industry? I mean, that's, you know, like many industries around the world have been kind of shelved for, you know, the last 12 to 18 months. How's it been for you?
Personally, you mean?
Yeah.
I think personally it's been really hard, because it's, you know, you have your daily routines pretty much wiped away from you. You know, I think where a lot of industries initially were where people, when you work for a limited company or a PLC and you've been put on furlough, great, I'm on holiday for a bit and I'm being paid for it. You know, and I think that's what it came to. Whereas with me personally and the family and a lot of other people in the industry, it was a case of you've had the rug pulled from under you, you've got no way of earning money, you've got to survive until whenever, you know. And that the biggest problem with I think that people were having for the mental health, it was going on and on and on and on with no real sort of end in sight, you know. And then the vaccine was sort of discovered sort of October, November last year, and everyone's thinking, great, couple of months we'll be out of it. And then they're saying, well, no, it's going to take probably a good year to get the vaccine rolled out to everybody that we need to roll it out to. So the picture looked extremely bleak for a long time, you know, and it's been heartbreaking because you can't do what you love. And I think when you've got such a passion for an industry, as most people in the music industry do have, that's been really tough to take, because we've kind of felt like that, you know, forgotten relative that nobody really loves. So it's kind of been hard for that reason, because it's you know, you've got to fend for yourself and try and pull together and support each other when nobody else would.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and the industry's done that. The industry, I think, has tried its best to look after each other, and we're lucky enough that we're part of what's called the AIF, which is the Association of Independent Festivals here in the UK, and they've been amazing, you know, in supporting us and sort of lobbying the government and DCMS to sort of try and give the industry and those people that work within the industry support. I think without people like that around us, we would have had a lot harder time than we have done.
Right, definitely. Like I work in the travel industry, and so kind of for the last 1.5 years, it's been the same thing for me, not being able to do what you love and not really getting much support from, you know, governments and everything like that. So, but hopefully the worst is behind us. And as you said, you know, it may be like a yearly jab to kind of stay vaccinated, but if we can keep it under control, hopefully things go back to normal.
I'm confident they will do. You know, we're going to get there at some point, and I think some point sooner now rather than later. You know, I'd rather be at this point in the pandemic than just starting out a new one, put it that way. We'll all get there, and we'll get back to it, I think, as soon as we can. But yeah, it's it's been tough, and I think it's still going to be tough for a while longer yet. But at least now we've got light at the end of the tunnel, haven't we? We can all see that there's, you know, we're going to be out of this hopefully soon. We just need every country to be at the same level as soon as possible.
Definitely.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we are quite far away here in that way. But okay.
Have you still got quite a lot to do then as far as your vaccinations and things go? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of things to do before. Yeah, just before to travel.
Yeah.
And well, I just wanted to be there, you know, in Europe with the festivals and stuff. But it's quite crazy the stuff here in South America, you know.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Of course.
I think we must to wait another year for sure.
Yeah, I mean, which is again hard in itself because you're kind of seeing then other countries unlocking and other countries kind of getting back to some level of normality that you're still in the throes of turmoil, really, I guess, which is also really hard to watch.
Yeah.
You know, where there's, you know, you've got things you want to do that you can't do.
Yeah, we are all like that, you know. It's like
yeah,
we are trying to go to like Rock in Rio this year, but
yeah,
nobody knows, you know. It's like Brazil is quite crazy, you know. Now it's the American Cup of football, but it's supposed that not to be.
Yeah,
who knows? You know.
I think hasn't Brazil got one of the highest death tolls? I think.
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And at the same time, it's full of events, you know. And Rock in Rio is quite crazy, you know. It's like 300,000 people a day.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Come on.
How do you manage? I think, you know, let's get these vaccines out as quick as we can to everybody, and hopefully, as we've all said, get back to normal sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Adam, one question about it's like Bloodstock is like a familiar festival. I know who's Paul.
Whose family? Oh, who's Paul? Did you say?
Yeah.
Well, it was my dad that started it. It was his idea, and it was one of those things. You've got a few blokes sitting in a pub one Saturday afternoon, and I think reminiscing on the old Monsters of Rock days that used to be. And this was back in 2000. And then one of his friends said, "Oh, because my dad's a bit of an entrepreneur. He's an artist by trade, so he does lots of Lord of the Rings artwork, and he's renowned for doing sort of album covers and things like that. So he's a bit of an entrepreneur." So somebody said to him, "Oh, you should start your own festival." And he had his pint in his hand, and he sort of looked over the road, and he could see the assembly rooms from where he was sitting. So he just put his pint down and went, "Fine, I will." Literally stood up, walked over the road, and then just booked the venue for the following year. And literally had no idea how or what he was going to do. So fortunately, he had done some album covers for Saxon. He's been doing album covers for Saxon, the band, since 1984. Yeah. So he gave Biff a call and said, "Look, I'm doing a one-day festival in Derby next year. Will you headline it for me as a favour?" And Biff just went, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I'll do that. And literally, it started from there. So he was working with a guy called, at the time, Vince Brotheridge. And Paul and Vince kind of really started it. And then I think after about 3 or 4 years, Vince backed out for his own personal reasons, at which point, you know, although we'd been working there from the day one, we hadn't really had a vested interest in it at that point. So we kind of, as his kids, so there's my dad, my brother, and my 2 sisters, and myself, obviously, we kind of took an interest in the festival and started to grow it from there. So, yeah, it's been a labour of love, put it that way. Or something.
Was it always called Bloodstock?
Yeah.
From day one? Yeah.
From day one. And again, that was just what we're going to call it kind of thing. And it wasn't us that came up with that. It was a guy called Martin Walker, actually, who came up with that one, who sort of coined the name, if you like, and it kind of stuck. And, you know, Paul liked it and thought, yeah, that's cool. And it kind of grew from there.
It's a cool name.
Well, it's a great name, but it's also, you know, when you think about most festivals are run by people who know what they're doing, you know, and we didn't have a clue. And let's be honest, we probably still don't have a clue now. You know, why we were, you know, the size that we are now, we don't really know, but it works. You know? But I think the big thing about Bloodstock is, for us, we want touch points and everything. So we want to know from the very bottom to the very top exactly how everything works and how it's happening, how the fans are interacting. If there's something we don't like, I don't want to wait until next year to change it. I want it changing there and then. You know, for the better. So we encourage the fans to talk to us, and we have an open forum with them all the time, where they can contact us and they can send us messages. And if something doesn't work or we can make something better, we'll look to do it. So it is very much around listening to the fans and not listening to yourself, because I think what works for us doesn't necessarily work for the masses, and it's important that what does work works for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's taken time to get where we are. but the fans, I think they like the fact they can talk to us and they can have an engagement with us. You know, we're no different than they are. We're all exactly the same. You know, everybody looks the same naked, don't we, pretty much? So it's, you know, we don't put ourselves on pedestals. We're exactly the same as everybody else, and we're just doing something, and we're fortunate enough to be doing something that we love. You know, and we can just invite 20,000 of our closest and nearest and dearest to come and enjoy it with us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
and,
amazing.
and now this year you're finally gonna have your 20th anniversary.
Yeah, at last. Well, it's nice because, I mean, to be fair, Judas Priest did postpone their 50th till this year as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they're starting their 50th celebration with us this year, and then they're going to continue it in 2022 with, I know they're headlining Wacken next year as well. So they'll be carrying on from there as well. So, yeah, you know, we've got to get back to it, and let's just start enjoying it. And we just want this year to be just the best year ever, because we all need a really, really good show, a good weekend or week, if you like, now, of just enjoying ourselves and just trying to remember what normal was.
Yeah.
You know, so let's do that and create some great memories this year.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I told these guys that that festival, they cannot lose, man. They must to go there. You know, I've been there.
Been there, got the T-shirt. Look.
Oh yeah, of course. This is the Bloodstock one.
Yeah, no, seriously, that was a good shirt actually. That's one of my favourite shirts.
Yeah, it was
like that one.
1918. Yeah, it was.
No, yeah. Look, it is good if people haven't been before. You know, there's lots of festivals and there's lots of shows and there's lots of great shows. I think Bloodstock tend to be a little bit unique because it's the atmosphere that you feel when you get there. It's very welcoming and warm. You know, everyone's really friendly, whether it be from security guards to fans to caterers to bar staff. Everybody's got a smile on their face, you know, and that's what we want. We want people just enjoying themselves. And, you know, if people are having a bad time, tell us about it straight away and we'll deal with it straight away, because we don't want people to have a bad time. We want everybody to have a great time, you know, and that works. That works. You've got to care about the fans and care about everybody that works with you as well. So it's important to look after those that look after you, and without the fans there's no festivals, let's be honest. So
and can you guarantee sunny weather?
It's like anything, isn't it? It's like that 80s rock band that you book that you hope's going to turn up. You know, if they do turn up, they're going to behave themselves. So we have booked it and we've asked for it, so we'll see. But traditionally we don't do too bad. Usually we have pretty decent weather, so fingers crossed.
Hopefully this year as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I love rainy mosh pits as well. Muddy rain. Mosh pits.
Exactly. No festival without it, is it? I mean, the funny thing is, Download Pilot this weekend. I mean, it's not rained in the UK for weeks. I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So Download weekend traditionally would have been 2 or 3 weekends ago, and it was beautiful, sunny. The weekend it started, literally Friday, Download opened, the heavens opened up, and it rained for 3 days. So that was it. Just purely on Download, it rained. It's like you couldn't make it up. You really couldn't.
Downpour on Download. God damn.
Yeah, well, it's a shame, but it didn't dampen anybody's spirits. I think everybody was so happy to be out and, you know, just enjoying themselves. It was actually a really good weekend.
Right. Yeah. From a business point of view, did you ever seek to grow the festival or decrease the size of the festival?
We had aspirations that for the UK, we didn't want to compete with the Downloads and you know, the sort of the Wackens or the Hellfest, because they've got their niche, and you know, Europe can cater for so many big festivals. And so with the UK, we're an island, and we get the majority of our fans from the UK. Although it's great to see that we do sort of appeal to some international fans as well, which is brilliant. But we all had aspirations to sort of sit between 20 to 25,000 people, which is pretty much where we are. And we don't want to grow bigger than that. And the reason for that is, I think if we do grow bigger than that, we'll lose the family-friendly feel that we have, and we'll develop that more corporate kind of feeling, which we don't want. Not that that's bad, it's just not what we want.
Yeah.
So from where we sit, the niche that we have in the UK, we're very, very happy with, and we're very, very happy with the size that we are. So we're the UK's biggest independent metal festival, and we're happy with that. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you actually go personally to other metal festivals in Europe? Do you travel?
Yeah, we've been to Wacken. The idea was this year we were going to try and do a few more of the UFF events, because they fall over sort of 2-3 separate weekends in July, August. But unfortunately, that kind of fell away this year. So we'll be definitely doing a few of them next year. But we try and get to as many shows as we can do, sort of up and down the country. Vicky, who books the bands for us, she's at shows all the time. You know, so she's found it really hard because, you know, her last live show she went to before this weekend was, I think, February 2020. And when you're doing kind of 2 or 3 shows a week to do nothing for 18 months, it's been really tough. So, yeah, you know, I think the nice thing is to go out and support as many shows, whether it's a small venue, whether it's a big festival. Just when we get out of this, just everybody just needs to go back and get out of shows and just, you know, never complain about having to go out to a Saturday evening show ever again. Just go and enjoy it and be part of something. Create a memory.
Right.
For sure.
Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Available tickets?
Oh,
Are the tickets available?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got not many.
Oh,
Not many. We're sort of. I think we will sell out. Well, not think we will sell out before the festival. I think because we've been holding off on this, what they've coined in the UK Freedom Day, which will now be the 19th of July. Once people see that we get past that, we confident we're going to have a little flurry for the few remaining tickets we have left. But we're probably, I would say, around about 94-95% sold now. So we don't have a lot left at all. It's going to be, I think, a bit of a mad rush in the next few weeks, I would think, and then once we're done, we're done. So yeah, which is lovely.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what it is.
Well, really,
I'm sure if you can manage to come over, I'll sort you out. We'll sort you some tickets down if you manage to get over. So see what the travel restrictions are like in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I hope to be there next year. This
Definitely, yeah.
Quite impossible for me, but yeah, maybe those guys which are closer. Why not?
right.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for your time, man, and good luck for this year and future years. And I'll have my fingers crossed for some beautiful sunny skies. But if not, yeah, you've got some amazing bands playing, so good times guaranteed.
We'll do what we do, and you know, I'm sure everybody will have a great time while we're doing it. So
for sure.
All right.
Thanks,
Adam.
Adam.
I'll see you again soon.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Adam. And
Bye-bye.
I just want to ask you one thing for the next year. I want to see with the Dead band, which canceled in 1918.
I will pass that on to the Vicky and Simon who booked the bands.
Good.
You know, so we've got a pretty much open, but I know we've already got quite a few bands already booked for 22, and we're even talking to some bands now currently for 23.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Yeah, wow. They are that far ahead on some of the bookings at the moment. I think because everything's kind of rolled over from 20 to 21 now to 22 for a lot of shows.
Yep.
You know, bands are saying, well, okay, well, what are we doing after that? So they're already booking for 23, which is bizarre. You know, but we'll do it. We'll talk to them, we'll book them, and yeah, let's get the shows booked to make sure we've got many years ahead of us.
Okay,
definitely.
Great.
Right,
thank you so much, Adam, for your time.
Cheers,
My pleasure.
man.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.